Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Friday to you. Thank God it's Friday. All right. If you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, kindly type in hi in the comment section so that let's just get this session started. So let's confirm we're all on the same page. So if you can see my screen clearly and you can hear my voice, type in hi in the comment section so that we can get this session started. Okay, what's happening in the chat? All right, good morning, Moriasmin. Okay, good morning, 116. Good morning, Car Rapper. All right, Andre, good morning. Thank you. 959, good morning to you. Dihaba, good morning to you. How are you doing? It's been a while since I saw you. Trust you're doing well. Alex Flo, good morning. Leola, good morning. Oh, Carrie, good morning to you. Thank you for that confirmation. 596, good morning. All right, so it appears that we are all on the same page. So let's get this session started. I welcome you all to yet another promising session on Extra and Speed Live, hosted by my humble self, Sheriff Daramola. And as usual, I will be taking you on a trading journey in the next 1 hour, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us during the New York session today. So that being said, let's move into the chart and let's see what's happening. But before I do, it's appropriate that I state here that on Fridays like this, being the last day of the trading week, we are going to be rounding off on all the pairs that we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. So definitely we are not going to be taking too much trades today, but what we're going to be doing is to round up on all the pairs, all our running trades, and if there are significant opportunities that we want to be taking advantage of today, I will be letting you know during the course of the session. So stay tuned in through to the end of the session so that you don't miss out on any of these ideas that I will be dishing out during the course of the session. So with that being said, let's dive into chat and let's see what is happening. Well, it has been a very profitable week for us on the Extra and Speed Live, as we've been having tons and tons of profit targets hits during the course of the week. So let's see what is happening on the US oil. So the first pair we are going to be looking at today is the US oil. And what do we have here? Well, we were able to hit our take profit target yesterday during the New York session. I think an hour or two after we closed the live session, we hit our take profit target at around the $86 level, which was our TP target since the beginning of the week. And that's about how many pips that is. Let's see, that's about over 570 pips thereabout, and we had multiple entries on this one. So definitely we had over 1,000 pips on the US oil. So for everyone in the house who took advantage of this move, kudos to you for taking advantage of that move. So right now, what are we going to be doing as we head into the New York session? Well, the first thing I would like to share with you here on the 1 hour time frame is the fact that we set something during the early days of this week that we want to see how price action is going to be relating with the key level at the $86 area. And what did we see during the New York session yesterday? We saw a very sharp rejection of that level as we saw a bullish engulfing candle taking price right out of the current bearish structure that we have here. So we already have a breakout of the bearish trend line, giving us a signal that price is moving to the upside. And remember, just our pattern here is that we don't get excited when we sight a signal like this. We wait for confirmations to happen in the form of a retest of a structure. So right now we have a consolidation phase going on right now, and we don't know how well this retracement move is going to go. But before I go into the details of how the retracement phase is moving right now, Let us scale up to the higher time frame and let's see what is really going on from the higher perspective, and after which we'll come back here to make a decision on how we intend to trade the US oil for today. So let's log into the daily time frame and let's see what is happening. Well, this is the daily time frame right now, and the first thing we observed on the daily time frame, first of all, was that price has been on a very strong bullish momentum, and as a result of this we were able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bullish trend line. So we had a bullish trend line running, and this bullish trend line has been our yardstick in the last 2 years. However, if we zoom into the structure and the price movement in the last 6 months, we will see that price has been on a bearish trend, and this bearish trend has collapsed right back into the bullish trend line. So we can see price continue to find lower lows and lower highs, resulting into the identification of that bearish trend line. And as you can see, in the month of September, price tested the bullish trend line. We saw the second touch here in the later part of the month of September, though we saw bearish momentum around this area, which pushed price to break down that bullish trend line to give us probably a signal that we might be having a bearish momentum, but that did not happen as price broke right above the bullish trend line back to the upside to consider this breakdown as a false breakdown. So now, in addition to the current structure we have here, I was also able to identify the $86 level, which has been a major determinant of price action throughout this year. So we have this $86 level, and as you can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action. In fact, if we go back to as far as the later part of last year, we can see how this level at one point was a selling niche for participants in this market, and then we saw the breakout of the structure in the month of January. And after the month of January, price continued to go to the upside, and since then price came back into the structure in the month of August and in the month of September. So during the course of last week's trading session, we finally saw the breakout of that key level one more time to emphasize the strength of the buyers at this point in the market. So with the breakout of the $86 level, breakout of the bearish trend line, and also price going back above the bullish trend line, obviously this is more or less a bullish signal. And whenever we cite a breakout of a structure like this, what do we expect? We expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure, after which we're going to be looking out for patterns on lower time frame to join the rally to the upside. However, since price tested the $93 level, that is late last week, we saw price come to as far as the $93 level, and since the beginning of the week, price has continued to find bearish momentum, hereby giving us a clue that this is likely going to be a retracement of that impulsive move. However, this retracement, we don't know how far this retracement is going to go. Is it going to respect that $86 level one more time to push price to the upside? That is the first question we want to be asking ourselves. Or is this retracement move going to come back and do a retest of the structure that was broken last week? Remember, we have the structure broken last week, so are we going to be seeing price come back to do a retest of that structure? So we don't know what that is going to be like, but since the beginning of the week, we took advantage of this bearish move. Hold on. We took advantage of this bearish move around this area, and we placed our take profit target somewhere around the $86 area, as we want to see how price action is going to be relating with the $86 level. Are we going to be having a situation where we will be having multiple rejection of this level to push price to the upside, or are we going to be having a situation where a breakdown of the key level will be sending price to the downside? So this is what we don't know at the beginning of the week, so we decided to place our take profit target at the key level area. So let's scale down to the 1 hour time frame. Let's see what has happened, and then we'll make a decision based on the current structure we have on the 1 hour time frame. So scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, what did we observe here? So looking at the structure we have on the 1 hour time frame, we can see, remember, we still have this $86 level. The golden rectangular line is the key level. Let me bring it out a little bit so that we can see what I'm talking about here. So we have the So we have the $86 level around this area. So hold on a second. Okay, so we have the $86 level around this area. And what did we see? Since the beginning of the week, price has hold on. Okay, since the beginning of the week, price has continued to respect this bearish trend line. So I was able to identify this bearish trend line. So we had multiple entries right from the bearish trend line there. And as we can see, price has continued to respect that bearish trend line. But however, during the course of the trading session on Wednesday, we saw the first rejection of the $86 to give us a clue that this level might be serving as a bullish momentum. Then we saw the second rejection of that key level during the course of yesterday's trading session to emphasize the strength of the sellers at this point. Now, in addition to the structure we have identified here, that is the multiple rejection of the key level at the $86 area. What does this tell us? It tells us that the buyers are very, very strong at this point, but we wouldn't want to be jumping into such a conclusion that we should be buying right away from this area, as we want to be looking forward to further confirmations that will be supporting that bullish momentum. So in order to do that, the next thing we identified here was that we saw the significant breakout of that bearish trend line. And whenever we cite a breakout of a structure like this, what do we expect? Definitely we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure, after which we want to be looking out for patterns on lower time frame that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. So with this technical standpoint in view, how do you think we will intend to trade this? Now we have two parameters that we're going to be using as our yardstick. Well, the first parameter is the $88 level. Remember, during the sometime in the middle of the week, this level was a buying niche for participants in this market. Remember, before we cited the breakdown of that structure, and then at another point in time it was rejected where it pushed price to the downside here. Remember, we took advantage of this move yesterday, which pushed price right back into the $86 level. It's in our take profit target. So right now we have a breakout of that structure, which also lines up with the bearish trend line. So definitely that is more or less a very good signal for us. So what we want to be doing is to look out for how far this retracement of this impulsive move is going to go. One, is it going to respect the $88 level? That is, are we going to start seeing multiple rejection of this level to give us a clue that the buyers are probably gathering around here to take advantage of a bullish momentum? Well, if we start seeing multiple rejection, then a breakout retest of structure will be giving us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside. However, if we have a breakdown of this $88 level, then probably price might likely come back to do a retest of the bearish trend line that was broken during the course of yesterday's trading session. So this is what I want to be looking forward to. And in order to make our job easier, the next thing I did here was to use this bullish impulsive move to the upside here as our yardstick to identify a buy zone. And you know what we are going to be doing? We are going to be bringing out our Fibonacci retracement tool, after which we'll be using that to identify the golden zone area, which is right within the 50 and the 78.6% of this impulse leg. And when we do that, what did we see here? We saw that we have our buy zone right within this area and the 78.6 area. So what this simply means is that we have somewhere around the $88 level, sorry, the $87.50 level and the $86.50 area as an area we want to be looking out for buying opportunity. So what this simply says is that if price continues to the downside in such a way that it breaks down the $88 level and price comes back into this buy zone area, which also lines up with the bearish trend line. If I extend that bearish trend line out a little bit, we can see that it lines up with that bearish trend line. So definitely we want to be looking out for reversal patterns on lower time frame to join the rally to the upside on this one. And if that happens, then definitely this is going to be the incitation of the second wave of the bullish momentum that started last week. Remember, we had this bullish momentum that started 2 weeks ago, right from the demand zone here into the upside, and that might likely be an area where we want to be looking for a trend continuation to the upside. However, the $86 level is still a significant level here, so we're still going to be looking for buying opportunity right above that area. Unless price breaks down that $86 level, then we won't be thinking of buying at this area around this point. For today, we want to be looking at how far this retracement move is going to go. So we have identified a buy zone. So we have a buy zone here, and then we also have the $88 level to be our yardstick for today's trading session. So this is what we are going to be looking out for on the US oil for today. Let me do a quick recap. So what I'm saying here is that we already have an impulsive move to the upside. Price has been caught within a consolidation phase right under the $89.50 level. That is where price started on what day was that? That was on Wednesday, and then it appears we begin to see a consolidation phase that results into a retracement of that previous impulse leg here. So we want to see how price is going to relate with the $88 level. If we cite multiple rejection of this area, then on lower time frame, a breakout retest of structure will be giving us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside. However, if price breaks down the $88 level in such a way that we have a retest to structure, price comes back to do a retest of this bearish trend line, which also lines up with the buy zone we just identified here within the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. Then definitely we want to be looking out for patterns on lower time frame that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. And if price starts from this area, a breakout retest of the $88 level will be giving us an opportunity to add one more position to our existing trade here on the US oil. So this is how I intend to trade the US oil for today. If you have any question regarding what I have just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section, and let's come here. Let's see how I can be of help in that regard. Welcome on board, Innocent Babe. I think I saw you coming in. How are you doing today? All right, so let's move on to the next pair in the absence of no questions. So let's move on to the... It's okay, Innocent Babe, you are good. Are you profitable on the gold? The gold has been doing well for us since the beginning of the week. All right, so let's move on to the US tech. So on the US tech, price actually went in our direction, but we were taken out of this position as price climbed right back up into the $10,950 level. So where are we as at yesterday? We were around here yesterday when I told you that we should be moving our stop loss to somewhere above the $10,850 level so that we don't get caught up in any sudden pullback that might likely happen around here. And obviously we saw that pullback. We saw our price went back into the $10,950 area before it went in our direction. But personally, I missed out on this trade as this move went very, very fast, and before I came back to the chart, it has already happened. So now that we have the scenario that I have just shared with you here, how do we intend to trade the US tech going into the New York session today? Well, for those who missed out on this analysis on the US tech prior to the session, let's quickly run through what is happening on the daily time frame. Then we make a decision on how we intend to trade this. Now, looking out on the daily time frame, the first thing we observe here is that price action has been on a very strong bearish momentum since the beginning of the week. As we can see, we were able to connect the series of lower highs here to give us that resultant bearish trend line, and as a result of this trend line has been a yardstick for bearish momentum since the beginning of the year. However, when we fast forward into the month of June, we saw how the $11,000 level has been a buying niche for participants in this market. We saw the first rejection of this level here. We saw the second rejection around this area in the month of July. And when we fast forward into the month of September, we saw how this level also has been a major determinant of buying power. So what this simply tells us is that $11,000 level has always stopped any selling continuation right here on the US tech in the last 3 months now. However, during the course of yesterday's trading session, we saw a little breakdown of that structure to give us probably a clue that price might likely be going to the downside at this point. And if you remember what I shared with you on Monday on this one, I said I'm not going to be selling this one unless we cite a breakdown of this demand zone. That means if a breakdown of this demand zone happens, that means we have a selling momentum that has taken out all the buy position around this area to give us a bearish signal that is likely going to be happening. But we want to see that price gives us further confirmation in the retest, in the form of a retest of a structure, after which we want to be looking out for patterns on lower time frame to join the trend continuation to the downside. So the confirmation, though we had the breakdown of the structure yesterday, as we can see, we saw the sharp breakdown of the structure, but we saw an hammer candle here giving us a clue that buyers are still very prominent at this point in the market. So even though we have a breakdown of structure, we are going to be looking at the possible scenarios that is likely going to be happening. We cannot ignore the fact that we could have a retest of structure that will be sending price to the downside, but we don't know where the retest of structure is going to happen. Is it going to be a retest of right the demand zone here, or probably is it going to come back into the $11,700 area, after which we see look out for trend continuation to the downside? Or are we going to be having this move to as far as, hold on a second, so probably the move is going to be going to as far as this bullish trend line was broken, or this bearish trend line, before we start seeing that situation that will be sending price to the downside. So at this point, this is what we don't know here. But the fact that price is still within the demand zone here, it appears that it is comfortable to be buying the US tech anywhere right above the demand zone. So let's scale down to the lower time frame and let's really see what is really happening within the consolidation phase that we have been witnessing around this area since the beginning of the week. Now, in order to do that, we will have to scale down to the 1 hour time frame, where we'll begin to see things more clearly. So right now, I've moved my chart to the 1 hour time frame, and what did we notice around this area? Remember, we have this demand zone, which is this one that we have here. So the demand zone is the one here, and was broken during the course of this week's trading session. So we saw the breakdown of this demand zone, but it wasn't that emphatic, as this breakdown was caught with something that looks like a consolidation phase. And as a result of this structure we have identified here on the 1 hour time frame, the next thing we did here was to identify this bearish trend line. As you can see, since the beginning of the week, though price was caught within this consolidation phase before it broke down that structure, and since it broke down that channel, price has continued to respect this bearish trend line since the beginning of the week. So you can see what I'm talking about here. So price has continued to respect this bearish trend line. However, something interesting happened yesterday. Yesterday we identified this demand zone, which price has been respected. So because of this demand zone yesterday, we started thinking of buying momentum. And we said if we are going to be buying the US tech, then definitely want to be seeing a breakout of the structure. And that is what has happened during the course of yesterday. So we saw this emphatic move yesterday. Price came to as far as the $10,400 level before we started seeing this bullish momentum that broke out of this bearish trend line significantly well to push price to as far as the $11,100 level. So what I'll be doing here at this point is to delete this bearish signal that we were looking forward to at the beginning of the week, and let's take into consideration this impulsive move that led to the significant breakout of that bearish trend line. So we want to be taking that impulsive move into consideration. And how do we do that? We bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the impulse leg, and what we want to be doing is to identify a golden zone area which will be falling right within the 50 and the 78.6% of that previous impulse leg. And as a result of that, I was able to identify a buy zone here. And if you look at this buy zone here, it shares a confluence with the bearish trend line that was broken yesterday. So we have a breakout of structure like this. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakout of a structure, what do we expect? We expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure, after which we want to be looking out for patterns on lower time frame that will be sending price to the upside. So what has been happening since yesterday on this chart? So let's zoom into what the structure here has been. So what did we see here during the New York session yesterday? Close to the later part of the New York session, we saw that as soon as price got into the $11 area, we started seeing rejection of that area, giving us a clue that the sellers, there is a scenario where we were having quick sells. And what do I mean by quick sells? Those who took advantage of this move yesterday are probably doing some quick sells on this one to take some profit before they want to be joining the trend continuation to the upside. So with this scenario we have here, what does this structure around here tells us? What does this structure around here tells us? If we look closely into that structure, we can see that it's revolving into something that looks more like a reversal pattern. So what I want to be doing here is to identify the structure, and let's use that structure as a yardstick going into the New York session. So I'll be bringing out my line chart at this point and then readjusting this key level to, so we have this key level which I want to be adjusting right now to somewhere around here. So we have around the $11,000 level. So we have the $11,000 area here. Let's relabel this for the sake of clarity. So we have the $11,000 level here. And let me delete this. We no longer need this anymore. And one thing we also have here is a temporary supply zone. For the meantime, let's call this area a temporary supply zone. So we have a supply zone here. So I'll place this right inside the center of this box, and then I'll give it a gray color. Okay, so we have something like this here. So we have a supply zone here. So that means since price tested $11,000 area, $11,100 area, we started seeing selling pressure from that area. So what this simply tells us is that we have a structure here that's looking like a reversal pattern at this point. And you can see we saw the breakdown of the $11,000 area during the early hours of today. That is more or less a signal that buyers might probably be coming in here to push price to somewhere around the buy zone area around this point. So what I'll be advising us to do here is to remain patient to see how price action is going to play out in the next couple of hours. So I'm looking forward to price coming close to somewhere around here. And if you look at the structure here, it lines up with the buy zone, and also it lines up with the demand zone that we have identified around this area. So let's see how participants is going to relate to the structure around here to take advantage of the trend continuation to the upside on the US tech. Now, if you are a counter trend trader or you are a short-term trader on this one, somewhere right below the $11,000 area looks more promising to take advantage of a counter trend. Since we already have a signal in the form of the breakdown of that $11,000 level, well, it's likely that price might continue to the downside on this one. So what this simply means is that below the $11,000 level seems most appropriate to be joining the decline. So you'll be having your take profit target somewhere around the $10,800 area and the $10,600 area. That's if you are a counter trend trader. So if you're a counter trend trader, you could take, let's say if price moves accordingly, you could be taking somewhere between the 250 to 270 pips thereabout on this one. But if you are not a counter trend trader, then definitely you want to be patient enough to wait for price to come within our buy zone here to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. So we are looking forward to something like this, and then we join the rally to the upside. Now, the second scenario that we want to be looking forward to at this point is this. Since we've already cited strong bullish potentials on this one, and price has continued to reject this level, what if price does not break down the $11,000 level and does not go to the downside? What happens? Well, if price does not go that far, then a breakout of the supply zone here, that is breakout of structure, taking out all the sell positions here, then we want to be seeing that as a bullish signal. But remember, we are not getting too excited at this point, as we want to wait for price action to give us a retest of structure for further confirmation, after which you look out for patterns on lower time frame that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. So this is how we want to be looking at the US tech for today. So I'll be advising us to be on standby to be able to take advantage of either of this move that will happen during the New York session. So that is that on the US tech. If you have any questions or you need further clarification regarding what I've just discussed so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section and I will be willing to be of help. So let's see, in the next 10 to 15 seconds, I'll read through the chat and see if there are any questions before we move on to the next pair. So what do we have here? Okay, we have 340 in the house. Good morning to you. I'm glad to have you around. Okay, so we have 876. Good day to you too. Oh, Steamroller is in the house. Good morning, Steamroller. How are you doing today? And how is work? Well, everything is fine here. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that is good. Looking forward to your ideas on GBPUSD today. Definitely we are going to be doing GBPUSD. I'm already in a position on the GBPUSD as I'm thinking of selling momentum here, but I will be sharing my thought process on that in a moment. Okay, so we have Cairo Karim. Good morning to you. And we have Miss Mia. Hello, how are you doing today? All right, so let's move on to the next pair, as there are no questions regarding what I have just discussed. So what do we have next on our list? So the next on our list is the XAUUSD. So on the XAUUSD, what do we have on the XAUUSD? That is the gold. So on the gold, I'm already in profit on my, is it fourth entry for this week on the gold. And before I go into that, let's quickly look at what happened during the course of yesterday. Well, during the course of yesterday, we were able to hit our take profit target at around the $1,645 level. As we can see, where were we as at yesterday? We were around here yesterday. Okay, we were around here yesterday before this impulsive move to the downside happened. And one thing I said was that since we're already in this trade, that we have our take profit target within the buy zone area we identified on the daily time frame, and we were able to take that profit here. However, price came back again into the $1,666 area, and I started seeing multiple rejection of this area, and that called my attention. And I said, okay, I think the market wants to give us a second chance on this one. And then I placed my entry right below the $1,666 level, and since then price has been trending right below the $1,666 level. And right now I'm in about, let's see how many pips in profit, over 1,000 pips in profit at this point in time, and I've moved my stop loss to break even on this one. So if you are taking advantage of this move with me, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move, as it is a very quite simple setup to see on this one. We saw this bullish trend line during the early days of this week. We saw this bullish trend line. We saw a breakdown of the trend line during the course of yesterday's trading session. Price came back to do a retest of that structure with multiple rejection of this level to give us a confirmation that we might be having another wave of bearish momentum on the XAUUSD. So price has been moving as expected on this one. So kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. We are very profitable on the XAUUSD since the beginning of the week, and definitely we don't want to lose what we have made this far. So what I'll be advising us to do, if you are taking advantage of the retest of the structure, what you want to be doing right now is to move your stop loss to break even at this point, or lock in some profit so that we don't get caught up with any sudden pullback that is likely going to be happening on this one. Remember, we have this multiple rejection of the $1,645 level, which was our take profit target area. So we don't want to get caught up in any bullish momentum that will be taking us out of our position in a loss. So that's what I'll be advising us to do at this point. So what are we going to be doing for today? That is, how are we going to be trading this for today, especially for those who missed out on this move? Well, should I go to the higher time frame to share with you what our situation was before we made the decision to sell? I think it's appropriate I do that for the sake of those who are not part of the session since the beginning of the week. So let's scale up to the daily time frame and let's see what is really happening on the higher time frame. Now, scaling up to the daily time frame on the XAUUSD, the first thing and obvious thing you will see here is that price has been trending on the downside, and as a result of this, we were able to identify this bearish trend line after connecting the series of lower highs here, as you can see. And what happened during the course of last week's trading session was very interesting, which further supports this bearish momentum here, as we saw another rejection of that bearish trend line, which evolved into a reversal pattern, which I will be showing you on the 4 hours time frame, that led into this bearish move that we have been enjoying since the beginning of this week. And in addition to this current structure that we have here, I was able to identify a very significant level at the $1,680 level. As we can see here, we have the key level at the $1,680 area, and you can see how this level has been a major determinant of price action during the course of the last 5 months. If we go back to the month of July, we can see how this area was a demand niche for participants in this market. And if we fast forward into the early days of the month of September, there was potential opportunities to buy the XAUUSD, but the momentum wasn't that strong, as it was met with stiff resistance, which later pushed price to the downside during the later part of the month of September. And since then, price has been trending to the downside of the 1,680 throughout the month of September. However, something interesting happened during the course of last week's trading session, as we cited a breakout of that structure, giving us a clue that there is a tendency that price might be going to the upside on this one. But because of the breakout of that structure, we cannot just jump into conclusion that we might be having a trend continuation to the upside. The reason why that is simply because of the long-term bearish momentum we have here on the XAUUSD. So there is a possibility that following this impulsive move, price might likely come within the golden zone area, which I identified here. And the golden zone area is the area between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So if we bring our Fibonacci retracement tool here, run it through the impulse leg here, what do we have? We have between the 50 and the 78.6% as our golden zone area. So what I said at the beginning of the week is that our sell position here on the gold should be having a take profit target within this area, because we don't know how price action is going to relate to this current structure that we have here. So if we begin to see reversal pattern here, probably on the 1 hour, on the 4 hours time frame, we could be looking forward to buying the XAUUSD, but we can't buy yet unless we see a confirmation, which is likely going to come in the form of a breakout of structure. Remain patient for a confirmation to happen before we want to be joining the rally to the upside. So that is the scenario we saw here on the daily time frame. But when I scale down to the 4 hours time frame, things become a little bit clearer. That supported that bearish momentum that we took advantage at the beginning of the week. So what did we see here on the 4 hours time frame? Well, the first thing we observed on the 4 hours time frame was that we saw this reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure, which also falls right around the bearish trend line to give us a signal that sellers might likely be coming in at this market. So we had this impulsive move to the upside. We saw patterns, we saw price action evolve into a reversal pattern here. Then we saw the breakdown of the neckline. We saw a little retest of structure, and since then price has continued to trend to the downside on this one. So at the beginning of the week, we saw price consolidate around the $1,700 area, which is also right below the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame. Though we missed this move, but as soon as price broke below the $1,680 level, we had an opportunity to join this decline. In fact, we had multiple entries on this one, as we had multiple rejection of the $1,680 level, which pushed price to the downside, which finally hit our take profit target as at yesterday trading session. So as at today, what are we looking forward to? I told you I've already entered another position around this area, and I have moved my stop loss to break even. And the reason why I moved my stop loss to break even is simply because of what I showed you on the higher time frame. Remember, we are within a very strong buy zone, the possibility of a buy zone area on the higher time frame, which is the golden zone area. So because of this, we want to be moving our stop loss to break even, as there is a possibility that we could be having a reversal pattern around here, Remember, we saw this rejection here during the yesterday's trading session, and price comes back, and then if this turns out to be a higher low, then definitely we might be looking forward to a breakout of the $1,680 area to give us a signal of a bullish momentum to the upside. All right, so that is that. Now, another thing I would like to share with you here on the 4 hours time frame. Remember, we had this reversal pattern here. We had this double top structure. We have the neckline at the $1,705 area, which was broken during the later part of last week's trading session. And what do we expect from a technical standpoint whenever we have a breakdown of the neckline of a reversal pattern? Of course, we expect that when price breaks down that structure at one point in time, price is likely going to come back, do a retest of that structure, after which we look out for patterns that will be sending price to the downside of the prior leading price action. So in as much as we might be looking forward to buying opportunity from this area, and even if price breaks above the key level at the $1,680 level, we still need to be very mindful, as there is a possibility that price might come here to send price to the downside. So if we are actually buying above that level, take profit target might likely be around the neckline area. And if we look forward to selling opportunities around this area, then we want to see how price is going to relate with the $1,680 level. Why have I said that? Price might get into the $1,680 level. We might start seeing buying attempt from this area, which is right above the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame, that is likely going to be pushing price to the upside. So if that happens and we start seeing buying pressure from this area, then definitely we want to be looking forward to buying the XAUUSD. However, if price breaks down the key level here, dropping below the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame, then definitely we want to be looking forward to a trend continuation to the downside on the XAUUSD. So that is that. On the, this is what I just explained to you right now is a long-term perspective. But since today is Friday and we will be closing for today, and I told you I've already entered this trade here, let's see if the possibility of a sell momentum will still continue here. So if price breaks down the previous structure that was rejected yesterday, then we might be comfortable in joining the trend continuation to the downside. So how do we intend to trade this, especially for those who missed out on this opportunity yesterday? How do we intend to trade the XAUUSD for today? So scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, let's see what we have on the 1 hour time frame, and let's identify a trading opportunity, and let's make our job easier. So right now on the 1 hour time frame, the first thing I observed here, I was able to identify the $1,666 level, which I told you I took advantage of right below that structure, and we already have a breakdown of that structure already here. Now the next structure we want to see here is the $1,662 level. Look at what happened around this level during the course of this week. We saw multiple rejection from this area by the buyers, as we saw attempts by the buyers here to push price to the upside. And since then, what happened afterwards? We saw a bullish momentum. Price came back to reject the very important key level at the $1,680 level. Can you see how that $1,680 level has been a major determinant of price action in the last 4 months now? Price, we saw this impulsive move that hit our take profit target. Then price came back to do a retest of the structure, and then we saw the breakdown of this $1,660 level, which was our demand zone in the past. Remember this demand zone here? We saw the breakdown of the demand zone during the early hours of the trading session today. So what does that tell us? It tells us that, okay, fine, if price continues to trend right below the $1,662 level, then I want to be comfortable in my sell position here. So for those who had missed this move around this area, what I will be advising us to do is to see if we are going to be having a retest of the structure. So if we are going to be having a retest of the structure, the most important thing we want to be looking out for is a reversal pattern on lower time frame or multiple rejection of this level. Then we want to be joining the decline to the downside on this one. So that is how I intend to trade this. So if you are already in this trade, you took advantage of this move right around this area, and then we see a breakdown retest of the structure, then you want to be adding more position to your existing trade. And for those who didn't take advantage of that move, this is probably an area where market is telling us that, okay, I'm giving you a second chance to join decline to the downside on the XAUUSD. So this is what I'm looking forward to on the XAUUSD, and I will be having my take profit target where, well, to identify the take profit target here, what we'll be doing is to take into consideration this impulsive move to the downside, and we will bring out our Fibonacci extension tool. We want to extend this into the future, and we should be aiming at somewhere between the 127.2 and the 1414 area. So we have between the 127.2 and the 1414 area falling around the $1,630 area. So we want to be having our take profit target within this zone, at least at this point in time. So let's see how the market plays out as we come to the end of the trading week on the XAUUSD. If you have any questions regarding the XAUUSD, feel free to drop in your questions, your inquiries in the comment section below. Okay, so we have the Richter. Okay, the Richter, we really don't know what you're asking for here. Please clarify yourself. All right. Tim Roller is asking that he has a sell order for 1.133 MAC. Where's 1.133 MAC? 1.133 MAC on the gold. 1.133 on the gold. I'm not sure that is. Probably we're talking about something. Oh, GBPUSD. Of course, we'll be looking at GBPUSD in a moment. Please hold on. GBPUSD is the next pair we are going to be looking at right now. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next pair in the absence of no questions. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is GBPUSD. And remember, we got stopped out yesterday. And I made mention of a situation here on the GBPUSD where I said that the 1.114 area is a very strong and significant level that has been respected in the past 2 weeks now. So we saw the breakdown of that structure here. Price came back to do a retest of that level, and what does this tell us? It gives us a clue that the sellers are very, very strong in this market. So as at yesterday, what I said was that we are going to be taking this into consideration, this impulsive move to the downside, after which we brought out our Fibonacci retracement tool to identify a sell window right within the 1.12 and the 1.138 area. And what has happened afterwards, we have seen that price is right within the sell window area, evolving into a reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure. And whenever we sight a double top structure like this, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify a neckline that will be guiding our action going forward. Now we have a neckline sitting right around the 1.13 area, and we've already cited a breakdown retest of the structure to give us a confirmation that the trend continuation to the downside is looking very, very promising at this point. So this is the 1.133 area that Steamroller is talking about. So that is good. That is good. We have a very strong situation for selling opportunities from this point in the market. So it's okay selling right below the 1.133 area, and we are looking forward to price continue to go to the ups, to the downside from that area. So Steamroller, well done for identifying that. Kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. I hope I've answered your question, Steamroller. Innocent Babe, I really love the way you explain things. Okay, I really appreciate your patience. It's okay. You're welcome. I'm glad you are, and I hope you make some profit as well as time goes by. So on the GBPUSD, let's quickly look at what is happening on the higher time frame so that we can have a clue into why we are making this decision to sell the GBPUSD for this week. So on the daily time frame, well, the first thing we observe on the daily time frame is that price has been on a very strong bearish momentum since the beginning of the year, and we were able to identify this bearish trend line after connecting the series of lower highs here. However, what happened here during the let's see what happened here during the since the month of July. I was able to identify this very strong significant level at the 1.1800 level, which also shares a confluence with that bearish trend line. And since August, price has been trending right below that level. But the most important thing here, the most important structure that I have here on the GBPUSD is the 1.1400 level. So we have the 1.1400 level here. And if we look at the structure in the month of September, that is last month, we saw how that level was a demand zone for close to 3 weeks on this pair. Then we cited the breakdown of the structure during the later part of the month of September to give us a signal that the sellers might be coming in at this point. So we saw the breakdown of that structure that led price right into the 1.0400 level. And what happened afterwards? From a technical standpoint, definitely, whenever we cite a breakdown or breakout of a structure, we expect that price is likely going to come back into that structure to do a retest of that level. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened, as we saw price come back into the structure during the course of last week's trading session, and we saw how price has continued to trend to the lower side from this area. But during the beginning of the week, we begin to see bullish potential. We saw bearish momentum. Then later on in the last 2 days, we started seeing bullish momentum from this area. So let me share with you why I think that bullish momentum was coming in here from a technical standpoint. So when we scale down to the 4 hours time frame, the first thing you will observe here on the 4 hours time frame is that we have a reversal pattern here. So since the breakdown of the 1.1400 level here, we saw price move into this demand zone, and since then we saw patterns that looks more like a reversal pattern. So we saw structures like this, then we saw a breakout of the neckline of that reversal pattern, which at this point is the 1.0900 level. So price broke out of that reversal pattern, and from a technical standpoint like this, whenever we cite a breakout of structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come to do a retest of that structure, which appears to have happened, and then we see price continue to the upside. So in this scenario here, looking at the reversal pattern we have here, the obvious thing that you will be looking at from a technical standpoint, that price is likely going to be continuing to the upside. That is, we might be having a bullish momentum. But the reason why I'm not jumping into a bullish momentum at this point is simply because of the 1.1400 level, which has been a major determinant of price action in the last 3 weeks. So you can see how this level has been a selling niche for participants in this market. So definitely we want to be looking forward to selling momentum anywhere right below the 1.1400 level. And if you are thinking of buying the GBPUSD, I will be advising that you only want to see price break out of the 1.1400 level, retest of that structure to be buying the GBPUSD at this point based on the current structure. And if we look at the structure here from a technical standpoint, on a long-term perspective, price action have been very, very bearish on the GBPUSD. So definitely we want to be looking forward to selling momentum around this area. So now scaling down to the 1 hour time frame, what did we observe on the 1 hour time frame? Well, on the 1 hour time frame, since last week we saw this impulsive move to the downside, and like I showed you earlier, we identified the sell window right around the 50 and the 70.6% area, which we said, okay, fine, if we start seeing reversal pattern here or multiple rejection of the structure around this area, then we want to be selling the GBPUSD. However, we had the first rejection here yesterday. We saw the first rejection here, which looks more like a reversal pattern. I shared this on my TradingView platform, where I said if we have a breakdown retest of the structure here, we will be selling. But a breakdown retest of the 1.1200 level did not happen as price continued to the upside. But since price continued to the upside, we started seeing rejection of the what area is this? 1.13700 level. We saw the second rejection, then we saw the breakdown of the structure, retest of structure, and price appears to be continuing to the downside on this one. So what I'll be advising us to do here, I would be suggesting that you move your stop loss closer to your entry point here. It might not be at break even, just closer to your entry point. It will be somewhere around here, so that you can reduce the risk that you are putting on the trade. And the reason why I'm saying that is simply because of this bullish momentum we've identified here. We saw the bullish momentum respecting this neckline around the 1.0900, pushing price to the upside. We never can tell, this could turn out to be a bullish momentum, so we need to be very swift I'm very flexible to be able to change perspective as soon as the market is saying otherwise. So what we want to be looking forward to here is to have our take profit target somewhere around the 1.1100 level, which will be dovetailing to, let me see how many pips that are, maybe no more of 200 pips thereabout. So let's see how price is going to relate to the structure here. So this is where price started this week. Price started within the channel this week. So let's see how price is going to relate to that structure. And if we continue to have a breakdown of that structure, then we want to be adding more position at a retest of that structure to continue the decline to the downside. But if we start seeing multiple rejection of this level, that is, we start seeing buying pressure from this area, then a breakout retest of structure on lower time frame will be confirming that a bullish momentum appears to be coming in to stay. So if a bullish momentum appears to come in, well, I'm still sticking a bearish momentum is still valid. Remember, we have this bearish trend line around this area, so this bullish momentum could probably lead to a situation where price breaks out, comes back into this bearish trend line, and we start seeing reversal pattern that will be pushing price to the downside. But till that happens, at this moment, we want to focus on what is really happening at this point. Then the future will tell us what to do afterwards. Oh, so sorry about that. Thank you for giving me that update. I hope you can hear me now. So similar, like I said the stop loss should be somewhere around here at this point, around the 1.13500 area, right above the 1.13500, so that we don't get caught up in any sudden pullback that might likely happen from this area because of the Michigan event and the the retail sales control that's coming up today. So that is that on the GBPUSD. It's 12 o'clock on dot. Let me quickly run through the silver and USDJPY with the little time I have left with me. So the silver, we met our take profit target yesterday as well on the silver, as we were able to lock over 1,000 pips here. We had multiple entries, remember, and as at this morning, when I saw price come back to do a retest of the structure around this area and I started seeing multiple rejection of this area, I joined right below the $18.90 area to join the decline to the downside, and immediately price moved in my favor. The next thing I did was to move my stop loss to the break even area, as I don't want to get caught up in any sudden pullback that might happen here. Remember, we had a sharp rejection of this area, and so because of this, I saw that there is a buying pressure around this area. And if you look at what is happening here, we are seeing something like a hammer candle, which is more or less a bullish signal at the moment. So I'll have my stop loss here. So even if I get ticked out of this position, I'm still profitable on the silver for this week. So I hope if you are taking advantage of the move right here, kindly move your stop loss to break even, and let's see what happens afterwards. So for those who had missed out on this trade, well, what I'll be advising us to do here on the silver is to, let me bring up my line chart here and let's connect the lower highs here, higher lows rather. So we have something like this. So let's see what happened with this current structure we have here. So what I'll be saying we should be doing here is this. Hold on a second. If we see a further breakdown of the structure and price comes back to do a retest of this level or somewhere around here, a reversal pattern on lower time frame will be confirming a trend continuation to the downside. So where is our take profit target going to be? I was able to identify the take profit target after taking into consideration this impulsive move to the downside that happened yesterday. I extended it into the future using my Fibonacci extension tool, and what did I get? At around the 127.2 and the 1414 area as my take profit target area. So we have between here 127 and 1414 area, so that falls around the $18.10 area as my take profit target zone. So let's see if price is going to move in our favor. Let's see if price is going to move in our favor in that regard. So that is that on the silver. And then let's move on to close the day with the USDJPY. So on the USDJPY, we have been very, very profitable. Did you take advantage of that move? If you are done, very kudos to you. And like I told you yesterday, I said if a breakout of an extended consolidation phase happens like this, the move is always very massive when a breakout of that structure happens. And this is exactly what is happening here on the USDJPY. We can see at the current moment, we are running, since the breakout of that structure, price has moved over 200 pips in our direction. And that is very, very massive for us for this week. And look at what has happened here. This is where we were yesterday. We were around this here yesterday. We were around here yesterday. We cited the multiple rejection of the 147 area. Remember, we had this multiple rejection level area. And one thing I said here was that I moved my stop loss to around the 146.200 area to protect my position as the current structure dictates. And one thing I said was that we want to look for price to come back into this area after we look out for patterns on lower time frame that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. I said if that does not happen, then a breakout of the 147 area, a retest of structure, should be giving us a confirmation to be joining the rally to the upside. And that is exactly what happened. Though I missed the first one, we had the first rejection here. This candle went as far as this area. I missed this, but when I came back to the charts, I was able to take advantage of this as we had like 1, 2, 3, 4 rejection of that level. So if you had missed the first 2, 3, you still have, market gave us quite a lot of opportunity to join this trend continuation to the upside. So if you are also joined from this level, then definitely you would have been in about 60 to 70 pips in profit at this point. So I have 2 positions running on this one, and I hope you do as well. And one thing I will be suggesting that we do here is to move our stop loss to somewhere right above the $147 level to protect our position against any pullback that is going to be happening here. So like I said, I will continue to move my stop loss accordingly. Sorry, my take profit, I'll continue to extend my take profit. I told you I will continue to extend my take profit as long as price allows me to. So on this one, what I'll be doing here is this. As soon as price gets into the 148 Japanese yen level here, I'll be extending my TP one more time. I'll be extending my TP to the 149 Japanese yen area, and then move my stop loss accordingly. Let's see where we will move our stop loss to. Somewhere around here will be most appropriate. That is the 147, somewhere below the 147.500 area. We'll move our stop loss to somewhere around that area if price breaks above the 148 Japanese yen area. And if we have a break above, that is price breaks above, does a retest to structure, I want to add more position to my existing trade as I continue to move my stop loss and extend my TP target accordingly on the USDJPY. So that is that on the USDJPY. I hope I made myself clear. I had to rush through the last 2 pairs because of my time. I guess next time I will have to know how to manage my time to be able to fit into the 1 hour that I am given on Extreme Speed Live. So that is that on this. Let's quickly let's quickly do a quick recap of what our expectations are on the pairs we took today. So the first pair we looked at today is the US oil, and one thing we said on the US oil is that since we already have multiple rejection of the key level at the $86 level, I want to be seeing a bullish momentum going forward. Coupled with the multiple rejection here, we had a breakout of the structure, and I'm expecting that we will be having a retest to structure to be joining the rally to the upside. So I'm still remaining very patient. I will remain patient on this one. So I had two scenarios that I shared with you here. I said the first scenario is that if we see multiple rejection of this level, that is, we see buying pressure from this area, then a breakout retest of structure on lower time frame will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. However, if a breakdown of that structure happens, then we will wait for price action to come within the buy zone area here, which also lines up with the bearish trend line that was broken yesterday. So we had a breakout of the bearish trend line here. Price comes back to do a retest of the structure, probably evolve into a reversal pattern. Then we want to be looking forward to a breakout retest of structure on lower time frame to join the rally to the upside. And if a breakout of the $88 level happens, that is this $88 level, and the retest of that structure happens, then we want to add one more position to our existing trade as price continues to the upside on the US oil. So let's get prepared on this one, mates. We're already in profit on the US oil since the beginning of the week. We took our profit at the $86 level. So let's see if price is going to continue to the upside on this one. Let's see if we are going to be seeing a reversal pattern around the structures I've been able to identify here, and then let's be on standby to take advantage of that move when it finally happens. So we moved on to the US tech, and on the US tech, what is our expectation on the US tech? Well, on the US tech, we finally had a breakout of our of our bearish trend line yesterday, and one thing we said is that we want to be using this bullish move as a yardstick for entering the trade. So since price came into the $11,100 level, we've been continuing to see multiple rejection of this area, hereby looking like something that looks like a reversal pattern around this area with a breakdown of the $11,000 level, a retest of structure. We want to look forward to selling right below this $11,000 level. So if you are a counter trend trader, you want to be selling around this area with a take profit target within the buy zone that I have identified here. But if you are not a counter trend trader, then you want to be patient enough to wait for price action to come within this area before we can take advantage of that bullish move to the upside. However, if price does not come this far, the second scenario we want to be looking forward to is if we have an outright breakout of the supply zone, that is, price action takes out all the sell position around this area, then definitely want to be seeing this breakout as a bullish move. And if the bullish move happen like this, we don't get too excited. Remember, we want to wait for price action to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of the structure, after which we look out for patterns on lower time frame to join the rally to the upside on the US tech. So that's that on the US tech. Then we went on to talk about the XAUUSD, which is the gold. And on the gold, we are very profitable for this week as we've been taking on the bearish ride since the beginning of the week, as we closed the week yesterday with about 3,600 pips on one position, and we had multiple positions on this one. So definitely we had made more than that. And one thing that happened during the course of the later part of yesterday's trading session was that I saw another situation here that looks like another opportunity for selling position here after price came back to do a retest of structure. And following that, we had multiple rejection of this area. So I said, okay, below the $1,666 level looks most appropriate to be joining this decline. So I was able to join the decline here, and I'm running with over 1,000 pips at this point in time. So what I said is that the first thing I said here is to move your stop loss to break even at this point, so that we don't get caught up in any sudden pullback. And the reason why I've said that is simply because of this sharp rejection by pressure we saw here, and it appears that price is finding a higher low at this point too as well. So definitely we want to be mindful of our position here so that we don't get caught up. So move your stop loss to break even. But I said this, if price comes back into the $1,662 level, remember this level has been a major buying niche for participants in this market during the course of this week. So if price comes back into this area and we start seeing rejection of this level by the sellers, or probably a reversal pattern here, then I want to be adding more position to my trade. And for those who missed out on this position that we took here, if price does a reversal pattern around this area, you might want to be joining the decline from that area. So our take profit targets still remain right around the $1,630 level after extending this impulsive move to the downside. So this is what we are going to be looking forward to on the XAUUSD for today. Then we move on to talk about the GBPUSD, where we are looking forward to a sell momentum as price action came right into the sell window we identified yesterday, evolving into a reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure. And we had a breakdown, we had retest of structure, and price has continued to go to the downside on this one. So the first thing I said here is that for those who took advantage of this move right below the 1.1300 level, the next thing we want to be doing is to move our stop loss closer to our entry point. I'm not saying you should move your stop loss to break even at this point. Move your stop loss somewhere close to the entry point, somewhere around the 1.13500 area, 1.13500 area, so that we can reduce the risk that we are putting into this, considering the fact that price respected the neckline area at around the 1.0900 level, which is more or less a bullish signal. So let's see how price action plays out, and if price continue to move to the downside, let's continue to move our stop loss accordingly to protect our position. So we have our take profit target somewhere around the 1.100 level, and this is an area where price started this week. So the reason why I'm having my take profit target here is simply because of the fact that we want to see how price action is going to relate to the structure. How we're going to be seeing a situation where we will be having multiple rejection, buying pressure from this area to push price to the upside. If that happens, then we want to be taking advantage of a bullish momentum. However, if a breakdown of the structure happens, a retest of structure should be giving us a confirmation to add more position to our existing trade. Then we moved on to talk about the XAGUSD, that is the silver. And of course, on silver too, we were able to make some profit as we closed the week with over, I think the first position was around 1,180 pips. The second position was around 750 pips. And now we have another position running at this point in time after citing multiple rejection, a breakout retest of the structure. So we took advantage of this move right here. So what I said is that we should be moving our stop loss to break even right around the $18.90 area. And if price breaks down this temporary bullish trend line during the course of the New York session today, what we want to be looking forward to is a retest of structure. And if that happens, we want to be adding more position to our existing trade. So we have our take profit target sitting right around the $18.10 right now. So we have our take profit target somewhere around here. Let's see how price action plays out as we keep monitoring the charts. So now we close the day with the USDJPY, which has been of immense profit for us as price action is currently running with about 200 pips in profit at this point. So we took advantage of this move at the beginning of the week, and then we added one more position to this trade at a breakout retest of the 147 Japanese yen level during the course of yesterday's trading session, and price has continued to climb to the upside. And like I said, I will continue to extend my TP as long as the market allows me to. What I said here is this: if price breaks above the 148 Japanese yen level, a retest of that structure should give us another opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. So as soon as price breaks this 148 or touches this 148, I will be extending my TP to 149 Japanese yen level. And if a retest of structure happen, I want to be adding more position to my existing trade. So that is that on the USDJPY. And on this note, I want to call it a day. Thank you very much for being with me, Innocent Babe, or you're welcome. God bless you too. I wish you best of luck during the New York session today. And like I used to say, don't get too excited when the signal happens. When you see a breakout of structure, we are not getting too excited. We want to wait for price action to give us further confirmation, which is likely going to come in the form of a retest of structure. And if a retest of structure, then we will be ready to join the potential rally or decline. And if a retest does not happen, sincerely speaking, past the trade, there are lots and lots of opportunity in the financial markets that we could actually take advantage of. So that is that on this one. So I look forward to seeing you on Monday Same time, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. Extreme Speed live as usual, and let's come again as a family to evaluate the financial market and get ourselves prepared for the new week. So on this note, happy Friday to you, happy weekend to you, and bye bye.